you begin making your campfire and setting it up in the area you want it, you can add regular meat to the below section underneath where the pot sits and cook 6 pieces one at a time. However, you can't add any other ingredients to them, which is the sole purpose of the cooking pot, in which you can cook 3 items together to make one item. So if you're just going to be putting a bunch of regular meat in from mutants that you want to just have fried meat, go for it. But you can't add anything to it. That is just the way it is, but it's nice to have. Because who wants to be lugging around a whole bunch of stewed meat cans? Anyways, let's move on to the pot. So I've got a few ingredients in my inventory I'll show you here, but really I'm just messing around seeing how the pot works. And the way it works is you can right click on each item and go to info, and it'll tell you what will happen if you mess with it, if you try to cook it, the difficulty of cooking said items in the pot, what effects they may or may not give you depending on if you cook them successfully. For example, some of the mushrooms, some of them will just end up giving you poison in your meal, so it's really not worth having. However, there is a chance of cooking them correctly, so it could be worth doing if you want to take that chance, if you want to gamble on that and potentially get that food. But aside from mushrooms, there are plenty of things out there you can find, especially once you start getting away from Lubeck and, well, in my case, going to the outskirts. If you are still just starting, you're still in the village area, you're still in Lubeck, okay, there are still plenty of things for you to find. In my case, I found some tansy flowers, I found some daisies, and you can make a few things just with those themselves. So the only thing that would really be stopping you there is having the pot. However, if you could find a board, if you get far enough along in the quest line to actually get the pot itself, which is honestly kind of pretty far down, well, you'll be able to cook with it. In this way, you'll be able to see what you can actually do before you get to Gourmet's camp in the outskirts. That way, before starting Gourmet's first quest, which is to cook, of course, you'll have a little bit more experience in that regard, combining items, seeing what works and what doesn't, and how hard it is to get said items. Now, me personally, I try not to keep a lot of wood in my inventory because it is pretty heavy. Okay, a few pieces of wood is a few kilograms, so I try to only keep 2 or 3 pieces, maybe 5 at best, in my inventory at all times because I want to keep an eye out for mutant parts, more ammo, anything else I need, because honestly, cooking isn't that important. I'll do it every once in a while. I'll cook maybe 15, 20 pieces of meat. Okay, I'll try a few recipes, and that'll be it. That's it for me. I don't do it that often. However, you can get some experience from doing it. So if you have a ton of ingredients in your inventory and you don't know what you're doing with them, get a campfire going and just experiment, try it out, see what happens, okay? Because if you're like me and you just want to see what's going on, well, give it a go. Some of the recipes you can make turn out to be a lot better than the canned stuff you can buy from the traders, than the fried meat that you ordinarily make. It only gives you 200 points of sustenance, for example, but one of the recipes I made gave me 800 points of sustenance, okay? That is 4 times that amount. And not to mention the actual status effects it gives you if you make sure to look in the info panel. And it's not just 1 or 2 or 1 at a time. These effects stack. So it's like I said, especially with the negative effects angle. So if you make one with poison, make sure to look at the label. Make sure to look in the info to see what it actually does. Okay, don't just eat whatever you're cooking, because chances are you might be making something that is totally bad. Okay, but that's the point. You have to know what you're doing to know what you know. You have to experiment. You have to get these ingredients. You have to read everything. You have to try it to get an idea of what works and what doesn't.